Okay, we are now recording.
Episode 2, huh? Are you
Episode
ready?
2. Yeah, I'm ready. Hey there.
Oh,
It's episode 2 there.
how's it going there, brother? Oh,
Uh,
very, very good.
very good. Mashed
Okay,
potatoes.
so
Anyway.
yeah, mashed potatoes. Uh, yeah, I don't know.
So,
Starting this channel, being like you're very passionate about things, I guess like objects, and I'm more passionate about real world
mm-hmm.
and politics. Hence
Yeah,
why
you could
today.
somewhat say that.
Yeah. And so today I decided, you know what, it's being covered a lot, but I feel really passionate about the white paper revolution going on right now. And
Okay.
I kind of want to cover it.
Uh,
Um,
So, can we start
yeah.
from the top of this article then? See what's going on?
Start from the top. Yeah, so this is the National Post. I was just doing my own research, reading all my articles so that whoever's viewing doesn't have to. Uh, so crazy, crazy thing. So if you don't know what the white paper revolution is,
Nope.
it's been dubbed that. It's a major protest going on in China right now. People are walking the streets with blank pieces of white paper, your standard size, hence why it's dubbed the name, the white paper revolution,
Oh, I
or
see.
I think it's like the A2 revolution as well, because that's the size of the paper. And it's against the lockdown measures. For
Mm,
3 years, China has had like severe like COVID lockdown measures,
right. Yeah. No, I've seen
locking
so
people
many.
inside their homes.
I've
Yeah.
seen crazy videos of the internet of the Chinese government just absolute authoritarian, just crazy, almost like fascism.
I know, it's crazy, right? So you have like these people who are getting locked in their homes, they're being locked away, they're not allowed to work. So that's like, China is a major part to the world's economy. And
Major.
you're stopping people from working and you're going into that. But I think there's something even crazier within this is because where it actually like started. So where it started is in the Xinjiang region of China.
The
And
Wuhan
that's
virus.
yeah. No, that started somewhere else. Xinjiang, that is a
Yeah.
region in the west of China. And
Oh
that is
yeah.
where the Uyghur people are. And that is what's really
Right.
interesting
The
is
genocide.
this, yeah, the genocide happening there right now. And what's interesting is what started this protest was, I think it's in one of these articles, if I can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as you can see here, there's like a photo of people holding up the white paper everywhere. Um, it's
Mm.
absolutely crazy, and the police are striking back in force right now, which is
Well, of
even
course.
even crazier.
I think
Um,
that what was crazy. Sorry, if you don't mind me interrupting. Did
yeah, go right ahead.
remember the ending of Andor series?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it
yeah.
was really good. But on off topic, but anyway, one of the things she said in her final speech after she died was that, um, or one of the things that one of the guys was saying at the episode was that um, keeping authority is like, um, how did it go? Do you remember? Shoot.
I don't exactly remember, but it was just like it's interesting that you state that because that episode was kind of released in the midst of this, where you
Yeah.
have people who are going against the government that is totally just locking down on people, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
and you have this, and what's interesting, and I think I'll get back to it later, is that it started in a Xinjiang region, and the kids who died were Uyghur kids.
Yeah. When
And
Uyghurs meaning a group of Muslim people.
yes, they're like a group of Muslim people in the west of China, and not just Muslim, other religions, but mainly, yeah, they're mostly Muslim ethnic minority in China who are being absolutely discriminated and oppressed. And I'll get more on that later. But covering the revolution right now of how much it's bringing to light of China.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you have people in a lot of eastern China along the sea not working producing iPhones. This was actually a big thing in this National Post article. Was in the city where there's a major factory that produces iPhones.
Yep.
They are the people are going out and they're rebelling, and in this exact article what I was reading is um you know uh One 26-year-old woman who, with her husband, attended a protest in the Capitol on Sunday said that they heard a knock at the door some 26 hours later. They're immediately fearful. It was 3:50 a.m. Who else could it be but the police? And her husband ended up being taken away and questioned, and she didn't state what the questions were. But like, this is China right now.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this has
On
been
top,
China for a while now.
hmm I think most of this started during COVID. It started before, but really heightened it also in 2020 when you start seeing the articles of Uyghur hair in products. I think worth over $800,000. So there's that big thing in the news in 2020.
Oh, really? I don't
That is
remember that.
when, like, have you seen those videos of like the drone going around at night or the announcement of curfew? You
Oh,
have your social credit points now. So you're also being tracked on everything good you're doing, right? So all these people who are protesting will probably end up in jail in some time.
oh yeah, or get their at
Because
least their social credits decreased. Actually, I saw a crazy thing where you know what CVT cameras are, right?
yeah,
China, I think owns. You could look it up for me. Like a crazy 30 or 40, maybe even 50% of all cameras in the world are in China from CVT cameras.
uh how many CVT?
Yeah, look up how many CVT cameras are in China.
Um yeah. It's
And
it's
let's
insane. People are being tracked. 450 million.
yeah, it's currently the most surveilled state in the world. So if you have
Xi Jinping.
540 million CCTV cameras, and you have 1.2 billion, was it 1.4 billion people in China? That's about
Yeah.
roughly like one camera for every three people.
It's honestly insane. Yeah, China's social credit system
Hmm.
um
Well,
is wild. So like this protest, what I'm getting to, going over all this stuff, it's not just quarantine protests. It is
hmm,
bringing to light what the hell China is doing to its people. You know,
yeah,
a lot of
but
people are saying it. This is like, the I've heard it thrown around that it's like the second Holocaust, this genocide to the Uyghur people.
yeah, but
Almost.
I could
That's how like
definitely see it.
impactful this is. And what's crazy to me is that the news is not covering it
Well, I think I remember in the past
as
mentioning
much.
it before, but you didn't really seem that interested in it. But I think
Yeah, in the past, yes.
yeah, but I think it's the big thing too. Is the hilarious thing, is that Mulan was actually the live action version was filmed in the parts of China where they're committing the genocides, and it's hilarious because at the end of the movie they thank the Chinese government for allowing them to film there and stuff like that, and it's like the same
It's
place.
crazy.
I think the thing
Yeah.
is that I don't know if there's any accusations of people getting. Well, I guess it's the genocide, but I think the thing is that COVID has kind of more exposed what's happened rather than brought any new information out because you know about the Tiananmen Square of 1989, correct? We all do.
Yeah, that's why this protest is also such a big thing. There hasn't been one this big in
Well,
China since since 1989. And we all know how China reacted last time. Like, what are they
well,
going to do
yet
this
again,
time?
no, I don't know if you were paying attention in 2019, but I remember covered on CBC News was the fact that Hong Kong, they had their protests as well, where millions of people were burning down buildings and the
Oh
police had to
yeah,
get in
I
and stuff like
remember.
that, tear gas and
Hmm.
like. But I don't know if this white paper is to a larger scale than that. To the because that
Uh,
was just Hong Kong, but it's not China all over because it's a nationwide problem, not just a citywide problem. Because that's the crazy thing
yeah,
about
that
China.
was that was Hong Kong trying to just keep their freedom, right? That was just
Mm,
Hong Kong. And now you have almost all of China, right? You're starting to get a lot of China. A lot of these major cities, I think only like Shanghai is the one not having them at the moment. And you're also having
uh,
all of China is now all of a saying, wait a minute,
who are
what
you?
Yeah, wait a minute. Who are you? Like, look at us. And I'm getting annoyed because the media is only covering the part mainly of just the COVID bit, which is a huge part. Like they're using COVID as an excuse to trap people in their homes, to stop them from working,
Hmm.
to stop them from living well, stop them from getting outside, right? To the point that the police protest, they're all wearing like quarantine suits as they go to like with their shields. They're like going
Yeah.
into these crowds and they're wearing their quarantine shoot like suits. And it's like
I mean,
what
you
is
know,
happening? Like COVID's not that big of a thing anymore.
yeah, we've
It's
well,
not.
I think the big thing is though is the fact that COVID vaccines in China aren't as nearly as effective as the ones here, and you're dealing
Yeah.
with a larger population on top of that. So even if you have that top-down authoritarianism, it would be like my best guess is at the most maybe 60% of the population would be double vax, maybe 70.
Maybe. And even then, like, it's just not that big of a thing. And it shouldn't be that
Yeah.
big of a thing to the point you are trapping people in their homes to where they can't escape because kids can't get out. Of course, Chinese officials deny this, but why the hell else could these kids not escape their home
Yeah,
during a
no,
fire?
dude, that's the thing that's crazy too. Is like, you think of China, you think of many people crowded, packed together. COVID's probably one
Mm.
of the mildest viruses or diseases you could get there. Like honestly,
Yeah,
if you got sick and you found out it was COVID, you're probably relieved if it's not something else, like a swine
yeah.
flu or like a stupid what else? What is there's a bajillion things that are nastier than COVID, but like
There's a lot of things.
and so and it's like China's really just freaking out this much over just COVID, or is it something else behind that? Because they're
I think
trying
it's
to hide
larger.
something. Because
They're
like the fact
definitely
that
trying to hide something.
because if obviously the virus came from China, it most likely came from
Hmm.
a lab because most people at this point don't deny that it came from a wet market. Them
Yeah.
it could have though, but I'm like 98% sure it came from a lab, and we don't know if that
Yeah,
lab.
I don't know. I'm not gonna throw that opinion out there for
I'm
myself, but
not.
yeah,
Well, I mean,
it's a
like I don't know either for sure. I need to do research on that. But what I do
hundred
is
percent.
I
Yeah.
don't know if that laboratory was the Chinese government or was a private industry. But what are they trying to cover up something, or are they just trying to see COVID as a power grab that they already
On,
had, like add on top of the power they already had over the people of China?
the craziest thing is most of the things China has implemented has been under the guise of COVID.
Yeah.
Right? The social credit system happened during COVID. The Uyghur genocide stuff, the re-education camps came to light during
Mm-hmm.
COVID. It all of a sudden heightened to an extreme during these years where everybody was locked down and the news was focused on other things. And just in the
Yep.
background, you have this thing happening that people aren't aware about. And if anything, that's just what I want to do is just be like, here, I'm going to let you know about this. I'm going to tell
Dude.
you that this is happening. I'm not going to give you all the facts because I don't know all the facts.
Dude,
I'm not that
because
smart, right? I'm
that's the
not
crazy
personally
thing.
involved, but I'm
Yeah.
going to give you the facts. I'm going to give you what I know. And hopefully people will want to go and come to
Mm-hmm.
realize that this white paper revolution is more than just fighting against COVID lockdowns. It is fighting against China's enforcement, against China's brutality, the government, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
part of the thing, if you're reading the articles, the protest isn't just against COVID. It is against Xi Jinping. I think is his name. Sorry if I'm
Xi Jinping.
brutalizing Xi Jinping. It's against him. It's against his government. It's what is he doing? We want to stop this. He is not. They're fighting for freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I've read in multiple articles today of multiple statements saying we are fighting for freedom. We are. The white paper represents, being silenced, right? They are fighting not to be silenced anymore. They're
I think
fighting, they're protesting, and they're doing a really good job of getting everybody involved protesting because they're trying to get their freedoms back. And it's something that is truly amazing and inspiring.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It feels like because the thing about it, right, is like you said, the media coverage, like all this happened during COVID, but in America and Canada, it was first It was the Australian wildfires, Kobe Bryant, and then it was COVID happened, and then on top of that,
Yes.
BLM happened. We got the giant Asian hornet wasps, and after
Yeah.
BLM, we had the election, and then after that, we had what else did we have? We had other stuff, and so we were just all caught up in what was happening, and so we kind of had like a fraction of a second focused on China for like maybe 1 or 2 months at the beginning of COVID, or even I remember hearing a little bit before it came to America and Canada that
Hmm.
there's this new disease in China and it might come over here like in February, January, um, and the lockdowns that are happening there. And I remember Donald
Yeah.
Trump. Remember Donald Trump closing the European shipping lanes and then the Chinese shipping lanes. And I think the thing is that COVID is just I don't know because I know there are definitely probably some medias that definitely wouldn't want to cover what's happening in China, but I also
100%.
know because like for example, there's probably like John Cena for example, he gets a lot of his money from China. There's probably a
Yeah.
lot of
Bing
news
Chiling.
medias, Bing Chiling, and then there's a lot of probably a lot of news medias that also get their money from China, and so they don't write articles about it. The actual objective media
100%.
would write about China, but and it's also
Yeah.
the fact that we're just so distracted fighting each other that we just don't focus on what's happening in China. And I think the
You
thing is
know,
just let the peasant like it feels like the French Revolution almost, but to a whole different scale, because it's the governments that have the guns, the tanks, the military vehicles. The citizens are under extremely heavy surveillance. They have their own
yeah.
firewall of China where you can't use any social media in North America without a VPN there, and you can't.
Yeah, and they're arresting people with VPNs. That was another article I read.
Oh, really? That's insane.
Yeah, because that's how they started the protest. That's how word got out. Is they were using a VPN.
Oh, yeah. And so having like that, the amount of CVT cameras there, just the heavy surveillance and that tight lockdown, like that is a little bit harder of a piece of meat to defeat, I guess you could say, than like the French
Yeah.
Revolution. Because back then it was just blood and steel. Now it's everything.
It's crazy because China also, one, they track you on your phone, especially the Uyghur people. The Uyghur people are not allowed a phone.
Mhm.
Once they get out of a re-education camp, which, in a re-education camp, they get their haircut, which is sold in hair products that are like targeted towards African American communities. So that's
Oh,
kind of interesting.
the racism
Right,
in
you
some
have,
Chinese ads are insane.
yeah, you have, dang, what does it call it? They, basically they stop you, from reproducing. I've
Oh,
lost the word all of a
well,
sudden.
no. Well, they have a child cap, but actually, fun fact, they recently increased that to 3 instead of 1, and they're having a declining fertility rate.
Yeah, no. Basically, they make it so women cannot get pregnant. I can't remember the like Uyghur women can't get pregnant.
Oh,
They
sterilize them.
sterilize. Thank you. They're sterilizing people over there so that more Uyghur people can't be produced, and that is what genocide
Produce
is.
like their
You
humans.
stop.
Birth.
Yeah, like
Give birth.
more Uyghur people can't be born, more Muslims can't come, more Christians can't come, more all other religions can't come in, right? What they're trying to do is they're trying to really get this nationalism in. They're really trying to get people to worship the government. And they're
Well,
targeting people through apps on your phone that can and this isn't a conspiracy, this is actual fact. They will download the app on your phone that goes through all your information. They arrested
mhm.
17,000 people in 10 days
Holy crap.
because yeah, or it was like 17,000, something like that last time I heard. And in 10 days because the people had a beard or they had a history of reading the Quran or something like that, right? They went through it,
Mm,
they saw what they were, and that it labeled them as potential threats. So therefore they're arrested and they're kind of thrown away. And
yeah.
it's
Because there's
crazy
no
because
uniformity, right?
right, and like people are getting right now are getting tracked by their phones through cell phone towers in China, and
Mm,
yeah, sure that might happen here, but it's not being used against us. It's not
yeah.
being used to punish us, right? It's not being used to just throw us away because we walked across the street wrong. That's an exaggeration, but it is a lot of what that is. It's like these people are fighting for freedom. They're
Yeah,
fighting for more.
that they've
And
been
what's
due for a very
crazy,
long time too.
yeah, I've read a CBC article. Uh, I think I watched a video from CBC and a video from National Post, and in the videos they were defending China. They were
Yeah.
they were saying it wasn't directly, but it was saying China might get them under control in a little bit, or they're just giving slight because they've eased COVID measures for these people, and it's not enough
Mm,
because the people aren't
yeah.
fighting for COVID measures; they're fighting for freedom, and they're fighting for their jobs, they're fighting to live like human beings, and the videos they're watching, they're saying, oh, China's working towards pleasing the people, right?
Yeah.
Since when were we more in favor of a government than we were the people,
Right.
right? Right.
Like very few
When was
times.
it not? When was it not? But it's about the people, right? I
Ex-
feel
ex-
like especially something like CBC, who would defend BLM to the end, would defend these Chinese people to the end,
mhm.
right? That
And
would defend Chinese people worldwide to the end, saying, no, these people deserve their rights. They deserve to not be persecuted. They deserve to not be discriminated against. They deserve to work. They deserve to live. They deserve to feed their families. They deserve to say what they want to say. They deserve not having a curfew on them, telling them when they have to go to bed at night or when to get off their phone or
off their
when to where
computer
they can be on the internet, right?
or what jobs they're
They
assigned.
just Yeah, they deserve to be connected to the rest of the world. Eastern China deserves to know what's happening in Western China.
Yeah.
That is the white paper revolution, is saying, okay, let's focus on China. Let's bring attention to what's happening. Let's fight
Yeah.
for freedom. I
Mhm.
like West has always done. That was like World War II. That was
Yeah.
so many wars in history, was fighting for freedom.
Or
Fighting
just
to, I'm not saying
yeah.
absolute freedom. I'm not going libertarian. I want to put that out there that I'm not a libertarian.
Oh really? I thought you
I
were.
do. Yeah, I do believe in rules and regulations and simple stuff, but I don't believe in people being oppressed.
Hmm. No,
Right?
yeah.
I don't
The,
agree with that, and I think that's just
I
one thing I
think
want to say. Yeah.
Donald. It's also the fact that Xi Jinping in China is very similar to Kim Jong Un in North Korea, where I mean, it's not exactly the same, but you can't make fun of Xi Jinping, like for example, calling him Winnie the Pooh. You remember that meme? And
Oh, 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
you weren't allowed to do that, and he was the man. And I don't know if you're supposed to worship him, but it definitely seemed like that, where he was
No,
the
you worship the Kims in North Korea. North Korea's different. I almost In a lot of ways, I don't want to call one worse than the other. They're both horrible. But in North Korea, it's just not even teach people,
yeah.
right?
Well,
It's
I
not
mean,
it's not controlling people. It's just
yeah,
we're not even gonna teach them. We're not even gonna do anything for them. We're gonna let them live in the Stone Age. And in
yeah.
China, it's let's let people know we're controlling them.
It's the
Let's
fact that
give people
China.
education and let's control them with technology.
I
And
think
that's
it's
what's
the
the
fact.
scariest thing about it, is the tech behind everything.
I think it's the fact that China has created a more powerful people than rather than military, because China is interested in itself. I think that's one of
Mm.
the things that defines a good from a great politician, is the fact that if you serve the interests of your areas, if you do what's the best for your country, your state, not for yourself, not for your votes, you're gonna make. And so that's one of the things that's the bigger threat to the world, is the fact that China has this giant economic, socioeconomic power over the rest of the world that North Korea doesn't have. It just
And
doesn't.
yeah,
And it's the fact that China, like I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast clip, And so he is saying that in the TikTok version of China, basically, you instead of promoting like
Mm.
funny videos and stuff like that, it's more like you're promoting accomplishments, sports things. You're more for the good of the people, right? You're
Yeah.
And so China is more just focused towards itself and building a good China, but while still controlling its people in that way.
Yeah, no, I think China's a perfect example of what looks good on paper and what works on paper but doesn't work in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I think,
It's that classic thing of people running
I
people
think,
people like thinking of the ideal government or people thinking they know best. It's like, okay, that works great on paper. That works great in thought. But in practice, when you deal with the complexity of the human mind and what humans naturally tend to do, it
yeah,
all falls apart. Because look at humans. Oh no, they're not. They're not. We're not just gonna. People just don't go along with. Yeah, sure. A few will, right? A few will be, but the majority eventually is gonna click, and they're gonna fight. Why? Because
mm-hmm.
humans love to fight, and they're gonna fight for more than just themselves. They're fighting for their families. They're fighting for more, right? People
Mm-hmm.
want that. They crave individual freedom
Yeah,
is what they crave. And they are naturally, people are going to want to, right? So China's a perfect example of like, oh, look, we're actually leading to a prosperous nation because we're doing all this stuff that's great and that you might do in like, say, like a strategy sandbox game, whatever, that's going
yeah,
to like
exactly.
lead you to absolute victory. But when you put it in practice, you all of a sudden hit the human side of things, how humans truly are. And all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
you bring people to a natural state of just acting so human,
I
where
think
they're
it's
gonna
sorry.
rebel, they're gonna fight.
Mm-hmm.
It's so normal.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that I think China, the comparing China to the USA, I think it's the fact that USA is kind of become the point where it's you do what you want for yourself, you do the best for you, the American dream, kind of thing. While it used to
Yep.
be, and so China's more like we're doing what's best for the country. You sacrifice
Yeah.
yourself, and so I think that
Socialist, communist. Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
no, but I think it's not like that. I think I kind of respect China in that kind of mindset way where it's not like like of course the authoritarianism the Chinese government has done, but what they're feeding their
Hmm.
population in terms of like not well, I guess propaganda, but in sort of how you're doing what's best for everyone rather than what's best for you, and I think that's why China is superior in that way, is the fact that
Yeah.
they yeah, in the U.S. it's
No, I
everyone for
can respect
themselves.
China. Like, look at my like, you know, undergraduate engineers. Every
Yeah.
like they graduated in 2020, over 1 million engineers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they are clearly doing so well.
Mm-hmm.
However, however, what why if they're doing so well, why are people protesting right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's what I'm gonna say. It's like, why are people protesting right now then? I can respect China in a lot of ways because, like I said, it's great on paper what they're doing and it makes a lot of freaking sense. But as soon as you put that into practice, it is morally and ethically wrong.
Yep.
To a
Yep.
point like you look at it and yeah, sure you can logic it, but your first response, your gut reasoning is, wait, this is wrong.
Yep.
Hold on, this is too far. Right? This is too far.
I think I just had this thought. I think over the years, over the centuries, over the thousands of years, we've kind of had these oligarch dictatorships for a long time now. That was a pretty common practice back then. In Europe,
Hmm.
in Asia, Africa, all over the world, where like one person or a group of people ruled. But over the past 200-300 years, we've it's been more common where people kind of have more of a say in what goes on in your country and people debate about stuff. But I think it's not everyone has moved on to that is the big issue. And so it's kind of like
Yeah.
a hyperfixated version. China's like a hyperfixated version of the old world where a group of people control billions and millions of people through hyper advanced technology. Xi Jinping has a lot of
And
power
it's
over
nothing you
China.
could do before.
Yeah, and so in the past, you took guns, you prayed, and if you won the war, you defeated the army, the country was yours. Now it's like you got a lot bigger of a bullet to bite if you want to do that for freedom.
Yeah,
It's
you can't just do that, right?
the price is much higher at least. There's going to be a lot more dead bodies than in the Revolutionary War in America.
Yeah. I honestly, for me, if anything, even if this white paper revolution just gets snuffed out right away, it said something. You know, it showed to the world that there's more going on in China, that people are fighting for a lot more, that people are struggling a lot more.
Yeah.
Um, because
Well,
of that, right? You have like what you said. You know, now it's so easy to control everyone because technology, right?
yeah.
It's so much control. You know, you had your dictatorship back then, but it's not like you could, you know, track somebody's location,
Not as easily anyway.
right? Not as easily unless you had them in jail.
Yeah, exactly.
Or and then it's like, oh well, is the pigeon gonna get here in time? You know,
Yeah,
if
exactly.
somebody sends it, and you know now it's scary, and I think
It's
that's why there's
milliseconds.
systems of, I think that's why there's systems in place now, in a majority of countries, where it's like, okay, yeah, like sure we're gonna have these rules, we're gonna have these laws, and we're gonna keep at that, but we're still gonna grant everybody, you know, the ability to leave their house,
Hmm.
their ability to feed their families, their abilities to pray what they want to pray, worship what they want to worship, right? And if it goes too far, well, you know, if you're gonna kill somebody, you're gonna get punished for it. Doesn't matter your religion, doesn't matter
Yeah.
anything, right?
Or your
Like these are
race,
the extreme. These
age.
are the extremes you're allowed to go to, yeah. And a
Yeah.
lot of times there can be stuff screwed up in there and tyranny, and you know that's normal. However, you know, if you're going to where China's going to the point where,
Hmm.
well, you control everything. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
like I said, like I personally, for me, my goal today was simply let's bring light to this, quickly talk about it. You know, I know a lot of people are covering it, but you know, this is simply what it is. Like there's a lot more going on than just a protest against COVID restrictions. They're protesting against the genocide to the Uyghur people, and they're protesting their complete freedoms. You know, they're protesting their voice. They don't have a voice, right?
Yeah,
White
exactly.
blank
Can
white
you
sheet of paper show that.
can
You
you
know,
hear the vacuum in the background? One quick thing.
no, I cannot hear the
Oh wow,
vacuum in
that's
the
amazing. Um,
background.
cu-
Yeah.
this thing is really good noise cancellation in the back. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, yeah, no, that's the thing. And so, I mean, you said it all, right?
I said it all. Like there is so much more than meets the eye and everything. So I hope here I can cover at least what I know. If people want more information, um, oh now I can hear it. Not anymore. If people want more on the Uyghur genocide, Jordan Harbinger is great. He has a great episode on it. I'll link that down below. Um, yeah, I think I don't know, something I'm passionate about. We need
Yeah.
to.
I think
I
it's also
think
the fact that I'm glad
way
he's
forward
sorry.
is. I think the way forward is just simply more people knowing,
I,
and that's the beauty of this white paper revolution. It's just more people knowing. Just
yeah,
more people knowing.
I think
How many
it's al-
people can we get to know about this?
I think it's also the fact that it's like not many people know, but I think it's the tensions between the United States and China ever since Trump took office, the Hunter Biden laptop story, and the fact that these aren't getting nearly as suppressed as that one was.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can always speculate what would happen in the future. Like, for example, what's happening in Taiwan with China performing closer and closer military exercises to the
Yeah.
island region. And so, if China did invade Taiwan, would that cause a war between the United States and China, or would that, because China has a powerful military, but I don't think it's nearly to the same extent as the United States military.
True. Who's to
But-
say, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, the more people that know, the more our leaders will get involved if the people urge it. So,
Yeah, exactly.
because our leaders aren't doing anything about this. One, they can't really. China has them probably in locked in deals and stuff. But you know, the more people who fight for this, the more people not even fight, but just know, just put the word out there.
I think it's just sad
Let's get people's attention on this.
how
What is actually happening?
how blind people can be though to these things, and how many of our generation don't really care about politics, and so they just don't know about this.
Yeah, because politics a lot have just been corrupted and
Well, it's always been
ruined
corrupt.
by a lot
It's
of people,
just-
right?
Yeah.
Where it's this big argument all the time, and it destroys families and whatnot, arguments over simple stuff, and that can ruin it for a lot of people. But at the end of the day, politics is just how you run the world around you, and it needs to be learned. At least it needs to be taught, and people, even if you don't want to learn it, at least just know what's happening. Go research yourself. Go find what you can find.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel compelled to do something, then go do it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's a good way to wrap up the conversation about our China.
I think so. I think that was just a quick episode 2
Mhm.
of our rambles. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Well, it was great talking to you, Caleb. Hope we can see you again next week.
Yeah, hopefully I could see you again next week. Goodbye for
bye.
now, Jonathan.